the more you tell those stories, the more focus you have.
That they came into my life and changed it, whether they know it or not. It is my pleasure to introduce you, the men behind the documentary 100 Miles to Redemption, the director, Andrew Shebay, and the editor. Is that the proper term, professional terminology?
Yes.
Gavin Tatro. So, gentlemen, thank you guys for taking the time to come on today and come talk about the making of this amazing film and everything like that.
Of course, thank you.
Do you want to? Absolutely.
I want to say for us,
Okay.
you know, you did a lot. You know, like maybe it was just a little opportunity, but you took that opportunity and you literally ran with it. And like 100 miles, man, that's insane. But you literally ran with it. So like, I think, you know, to your credit, you really did a lot with it. So yeah, we were just fortunate enough to be there filming you.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. But do you guys want to give just a little bit of background or like what it is, you know, your company, what you guys do, stuff like that?
Sure, yeah. So my company's Pipeline Films, producer and director there. Do a lot of branded docs, documentaries, feature films, a little bit of everything. But really try to focus on true stories, real people, things like that. And Gavin, he can talk about his post-production company, but I mean, we're essentially one and the same. He edits everything I do. So technically 2 different companies, theoretically 1 company.
Yeah.
Right.
I have my company's Carve Editorial. I've been in business 15 years, but I've been doing this for like 20 something years, and but I've edited everything: TV commercials, movies, music videos, brand, you know, like Andrew, a lot of different things. And then you and I got together maybe 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Worked on a project through a client of mine that lived in the same building, or was with
Well, my wife lived.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he hooked us up on a project, and then we've been working together ever since.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you guys have been together since I've known you.
I married Gavin the same time I married my wife.
Exactly.
It was two different marriages,
Yeah.
but kind of the same.
Our wedding was cheaper.
Right.
So, Andrew, we've known each other. How many years has it been now?
I think since 2017, because I was doing some every year I do a pro bono film for a nonprofit in town in Austin, Texas, and it's kind of like my way to give back to the community. And I did a few for Back on My Feet, and now I think it was 2017. You were member of the year for Back on My Feet, and so that was the year I did the pro bono video for them, and you were the subject, and we kind of kicked it off, which I still love that.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best things we've done, and it was just like awesome. Me, DP, and Gavin, and you, and like I think that was awesome.
Right.
But from that experience, you kind of went on to say, he's like, well, listen, guys, I'm running 100 miles in a few months, and if you want to film it.
Right.
And knowing you.
No, I never said if you want to film it.
You didn't?
No.
Was that me saying I want to film it?
Yeah, so that definitely didn't happen because there was so much happening for me around that time. Like, you know, I'm newly sober. I'm just getting into running. I'm super passionate about it. I'm getting my life back on track
You were
and stuff like
18
that.
months sober when we filmed you at Back on My Feet. Which in my mind I think I was
a year, and then when we got more towards the 100-mile race, that's
when you're 18 months, yeah,
right. Because my milestone was I ran 100K within my first year. That was like what I had remembered, and so like so much shit was happening for me at that time, and it was all, you know, I say it all the time, it was new territory for me, and so I get member of the year in this running. You know, this running group that I'm a part of, and then I find out there's a video attached to it, and I didn't know what to expect. And then you end up shooting this, you know, 3.5 minute video that, like, still to this day, if I watched it, would probably drown out some tears. Like, it was amazing to see the amount, you know, the amount of emotion that you can get with just in that short amount of time. You know, the phone conversation with my mom and and having the military aspect and everything. And I was just like, holy shit. And so right around that time, I had done the interview with Austin Marathon, and then Lance Armstrong finds out, and then I go on the podcast. And so it's like all this stuff, and I'd never been around cameras or microphones or any of that type of shit. And then I remember I think I'd continued to stay in contact with you because once we posted that video, I was just getting flooded with messages from people just off that, that little video we had done. And I think in conversation around that time, I had mentioned that I was training for a 100-mile race, and I think that's when the light bulb went off for you.
Yeah, that's right.
And the next thing I know, you hit me up, and I remember your words. You're like, "Are you willing to do something on a little bit larger scale?" And I'm like, "What are we talking about?" And you're like, "Oh, think about doing a documentary, a film. We'll come film you in Alabama if you're gonna run this race." And I just remember like, this isn't fucking real. There's no way that this is gonna happen. Like, stuff like this doesn't happen to me. And then next thing I know, we're meeting each other in Alabama and ready to get going.
I think from back to that phone call with your mom, it was so powerful to hear her just that short little clip of her speaking to you on that phone. I really wanted to get her side of the story, on camera, right?
Right.
And to see like you said before, it was 12 months. When I first met you, it was 12 months when you were only 12 months since you were sober, which is not a long time, right? And so to see the transformation, not only in you, but also your mom and your sister throughout, from then all the way till we finished the film, was insane. Because they've been down this road with you. I haven't, but they have.
Right.
And they were, no offense, they were pretty skeptical.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's why I thought when you actually finished the race, it was awesome. Like, you literally proved to them, you're like, hey, I got this.
Right.
It was cool.
Dude, it's crazy. I've had to watch that film more times than I want to, just because every place that I go, I have to be there for it. And it's still this many years past that still to this day, there's a different part of the film every time that grabs me and has me tear up and cry.
Right.
And it's something different each time. It'll be something my sister said, my stepdad said, my mom said, something I said, or something that happens, and it still gets me and I still get choked up. And that right there is I know the story better than anybody. I lived it, but that's a testament to the work you guys did, that the fact where I know the answers to the questions, I know the endings of the stories and everything, and for it still to grab me like that is amazing.
I think that was the same for us, especially editing. We watched it.
Yeah.
Geez, hundreds of times.
Every time I watched it.
Oh, you're the one person that's watched it more than me, probably.
But it was something new, like a new part.
Yeah.
Would make you tear up. Like the sister for me was a big one.
Well, and as many times I had watched it, I remember you coming to our studio and watching it for the first time, you seeing it for the first time put together, and you hadn't seen any of the interview footage from your family,
right?
So you didn't really know what they were going to say,
right?
And I just remember how emotional that was to watch that with you, for the first time.
After the film, you were in tears. I was looking at Gavin. He was right.
But no, that's what I think sets this apart from so many other projects or something like that, because there's so much attention on the addict story and stuff like that. And in our world, in the recovery world, there is not a lot out there as far as families go and what they actually go through. And that's the part that I watch every treatment center we show it. I watch it grab guys. I watch them tear up and start crying. They hear something from the sister, the mom, the stepdad, and there's so many powerful moments and things that my mother said. You know what I mean? Like, how's my son doing? He's a heroin addict. I think he's doing stuff like that, and just the imagery of her walking around the cemetery and stuff like that. There's nothing else that I think paints a better picture of what it's truly like for a family to go through when it comes to addiction.
Because a lot of those family members, they won't say that kind of stuff to the person directly, right?
Right.
And even to a camera, they in an interview style, they may not be as open. But when you're able to go in there with a small crew and get to know these people and get them in situations where their guard is down, and then they truly start to open up. Like, I remember we were driving around with your mom in the car, and she was just showing us around Youngstown. She probably just forgot the camera was there. She was just talking, and she was going down memory lane, and it was heavy and it was hard. But that's where you get the real intimacy side of it. And I think that's where you get the beauty of it as well. Because, you know, like you said, with addiction, the way we wanted to tell the story was obviously show what you went through and why you're doing what you're doing, but also get the family's perspective. And, you know, you as an addict, you're not just a victim to addiction, but your family was a victim to that monster as well, right? And so I think it's important to show their story just as much as to show your story.
Yeah, if not more so.
Sure.
Like, so working within the recovery industry now, I get a lot of phone calls from families, and they're looking to do an intervention or something on their son or daughter, and they immediately go into they give me the whole backstory of the addict, right? And I want them to be able to voice and get that out. But the story is the same every time. It's just like my story. It's just all the addict story. It's the same thing, and they feel like it's probably the first time they're actually coming out and saying this to a third party person that's not directly in the family, but it's the same shit every time.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there's different addicts who think their story is unique, and it's like, man, I promise you that there's nothing unique about you know what I mean? Like,
it's the same shit, different.
Right.
But I still think it's extremely important to tell your story,
of
to
course.
be vulnerable with that, because for such a long time with addiction, like even you said it, people feel ashamed and there's a stigma towards it as well.
Right.
I think, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure there's stats on this, but like maybe within the past 5-6 years, whatever, a lot more people have been coming out and being brave and speaking about that. And there's been movies on it like Ben is Back with Julia Roberts and Beautiful Boy with Steve Carell. Mm-hmm. You know, there's been some great movies on it. And yes, it is the same freaking story, all like with everybody. But I still think it's very important to tell those stories, because the more you tell those stories, the more focus you have on addiction, and the more people will be constantly aware of it.
Right.
To, you know, I don't know if you can ever stop it or help it, but at least you can be aware of it, you know, and find hope or strength in other people and have that community, right?
Right. Yeah,
not alone.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you feel alone sometimes when, especially as family, like my child's going through this and I feel so alone, but you're not.
Right.
You know?
No, absolutely. And that's the whole purpose of everything I do now today is getting people, whether they're addicts or not, to understand, like, that's what's changed my life, is the fact that I was willing to become vulnerable, willing to tell my story. The documentary did that for me at first, and that kind of pushed me into the speaking stuff, where it's like, everybody already knows my shit now. Like, I might as well just get out and talk about it. And then you start realizing that you could use all that bad shit to actually help people. Mm-hmm. And so my whole purpose for doing that now is to get people to understand that, you know, if you're lucky enough to, you know, you, me, everybody here, we all have different life experience, right? We're all recovering from something. We've all had some shit happen to us. And, you know, if we're sitting here today, hopefully we've made it on the other side, right? And I've always said, like, if I just went on and lived my life now and never acknowledged I was a heroin addict or had been to prison or any of that shit, and I don't go back and use it to help people, then what was it all for? Yeah. And so there's people out there, I can reach a certain demographic and amount of people, right? But there's people that have problems that I didn't have. You know, they were sexual assault when they were younger, or eating disorder stuff, severe mental health things, schizophrenia, whatever it is. But these people that have found a way to get on the other side of that, like, understand the power that you have being able to take that story now and go back to help people. And you want to talk about like a rewarding career field or a rewarding day-to-day life, is knowing that you're just using your experience to help others. And that's what it is. That's what it's all about for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's extremely important because, like I said, you know, I don't think this is a disease that will ever be cured.
Right.
I think it's a disease that as a society we can learn to recognize and deal with as a society, you know, like not judge, not stigmatize, and maybe learn how to better treat individuals with addiction as well. Mm-hmm. And that starts with people like you just continuing to talk about it, right. You know, and that's it. And that's it.
Right. So what was it like for you? I know what it was like for me in Alabama, but You and the rest of the crew fly down to Alabama.
We drove.
Or that's right, you drove. You get that's right.
Yeah.
With the van. But so what was it like? I know what it's like running that race. I don't know what's worse, going through the pain of running that race or sitting around for countless hours just waiting for me to pop up for a minute or two.
Our job was way harder than what you did.
So
all you had to do was just run or jog or whatever, dude. Just keep going straight.
Yeah.
We had to like wait, and it took long sometimes too. We're like, where is this guy?
Altitude, the Appalachian Trail.
It went from hot to cold at night.
Yeah.
It was hot during the day, cold at night. Waiting for you, just not knowing. Well, there's the one aspect of finance, putting money into it. If you didn't get to finish,
Yeah.
what was I gonna do?
Dude,
I'm joking.
No. I talk about that all the time.
That was never an issue.
What? If
I knew you were gonna finish. I don't know. Even when you came in,
Really?
yeah,
So
with your back hurting.
Whenever I speak with the film, people ask questions about the film and what it was like for me and this and that, and I always tell them, like, can you imagine what it must have been like for Andrew, the director, on the moment when I come through and I'm talking about I'm not gonna keep going, and then knowing the end of the film, like there's gonna be people sitting in a hotel waiting for me that I don't know about, and I can only imagine Andrew be like, this motherfucker, he better get the fuck back out there.
No, this sounds cheesy as hell. I didn't even think about that.
Really?
I thought about you and you finishing for your family. Like, all that stuff was kind of out the window. I was like, Shawn, you gotta.
You didn't have much money invested at this point.
It was only like $15K, not a lot.
Right.
But it was like, I was just thinking about, you gotta finish for your family, man. You gotta, not for your family, for you. I think you wanted it more for yourself than you wanted it for anybody.
Yeah, hands down. But would you have busted that out if I was just like, look, I'm done? Would you have been like, motherfucker, your mom and your sister are sitting in a hotel room now, get your ass back out there?
I don't know. I did think there was a slight moment. I was like, should I say something or should I not? And then I think that's when Detroit came up.
Angel, dude.
Yeah, this guy in black comes through the doors.
He was an angel. Dude.
Yeah, then he disappears. Like,
people always ask me about him. Do I still talk to him and stuff like that? We stay in contact.
Yeah.
Maybe
so
one.
He
maybe,
does
maybe,
exist.
he does, and he wasn't a ghost.
He never signed a release form for me. That's all I know.
Oh, really?
Better not sue.
No.
I'm so joking.
We're gonna edit that out.
No.
I don't know if I ever had told you this, but I remember there was a part, and I'm like maybe halfway, 3/4 through the race, and I'd like come up over this little ridge and like come in, and I start getting water and calories in me or whatever. And Andrew's like, hey, like we want to get some footage with the drone, so like, do you want to like go back over that hill and like come back up over? And I was like, bro, I'm not doing any of that. Fuck that. I was running.
Not doing extra.
There's no resets here.
Right.
It's like,
I was like, I want to be done with this. I don't want to be out here longer than I have to. And then I remember him sitting there saying like, hey, can you just hold on? It's like, I'm like ready to go now back out. He's like, we got to get the drone up. And I'm like, dude, fuck all this.
We would literally go from checkpoint to checkpoint and like take sleeping breaks to wait for you.
Right.
And then like one guy would be like, okay, he's coming, or like, we hear or something. And so then we would all wake up and like press record and
it'd be another hour and a half until it came.
Yeah, exactly. It was crazy. It was a crazy experience.
Some of the best footage was your GoPro footage.
Was it really?
Chill. Yeah.
As far as the storytelling.
Right.
And because it would be nighttime.
Yeah.
And you couldn't really see you.
Right.
Just kind of. And you could hear you breathing. You could hear the ground and, you running in the brush. And
you said some epic stuff.
Yeah.
Too.
And I bet in a way that helped you get through the race too, because you weren't thinking about running,
Yeah. The one constant thing that I kept, the one thing that motivated me the whole time was, like, obviously I know you guys are there, and I was sitting there thinking, like, there were so many times when I wanted to quit, and I was like, all right, like right now, if my family was sitting at home watching this on TV, could I really allow myself to quit? And you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Then 6 hours later, I'm fucking super calorie deficient, and I start talking about dropping and stuff like that. But we were just talking before we came in on like how lucky I've gotten for so many things. And like, I tell my mom all the time, like, do you understand how fucking lucky we are that moment? I don't know about the biggest moments in her life, but in my life, that is, if not the biggest moment ever. And it's captured on a film for the rest of our lives.
I would say that's luck. I would say that's opportunity. I would say that's you pouncing on the opportunities that present themselves to you. I won't call that luck. Opportunities present.
All I did was just start running and get my shit together, and good stuff started happening.
There's probably some divine reasons.
Yeah,
Jamie?
but each opportunity that's presented itself to you, you've kind of like pounced on it.
Thank you.
And you ran, like, no pun intended, you ran with it. So yeah, I don't want to call that luck.
Right. Well, I feel lucky, so we'll say that.
Yeah.
So what, for you, what was the hardest part about editing the film, and what was your favorite part about editing the film?
The favorite part was probably weaving the two stories together, you running the race, and then all the footage we captured of the interviews with your family and telling the story of your sister and your mom, telling the story of, your history of all the things you went through,
Right.
and that they went through. And then just marrying those together and, how to sort of pair them up with where you were in the race. And Andrew, we were talking about this on the ride over here, that Andrew had come up with this paper script that was probably like 2-3 hours long.
Yeah.
Like it was long. And I put it together just so we could see where we're at. And then we ended up getting it to an hour. And then
There's an extended 3-hour version?
Somewhere.
somewhere. But
Can I say it?
It just says more great quotes and stories from you and your mom.
Can I see it?
Sure.
yeah, if I could find it.
Please.
Okay.
We have it somewhere.
Because I tell people all the time, like, it was an hour. I'm like, you don't understand, though. We filmed so fucking much. Like,
Yeah.
the times we would film all day on something, and it would be like a 2-3 minute part of that whole day. I was like, shit, where's everything else? But, dude,
Yeah.
keep going. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all right. But it was so that was the most challenging and fun part for me was crafting that story of weaving those two things together. But the hardest thing was probably, honestly, hearing that much of your story, because I felt like I was living it too, and just seeing the pain that your family went through
Right.
with all that, and it was just really emotional cutting that the whole time.
You and your family were emotional. You're like, y'all were the best. Y'all was so open and intimate, and like, y'all laid everything out on the table for us, and it was.
But I had a box of Kleenex.
Really?
Yeah,
Dude, I could, the random times when I would see you, I'd come to his office and see you, or to talk about whatever, like, you would tell me stuff like that, and I could see the emotion, like, behind your eyes. It's like, oh, he's not just bullshitting. Like, that.
No, I'd leave
being
work,
very real.
I'd leave work exhausted, like
Yeah.
emotionally sometimes. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But it took it. It's hard to see that kind of pain.
Yeah, I would just admitted he has a box of Kleenex by his computer.
Just
You can cut that out.
For tears.
He's tears.
What about you?
Oh man, so many. What we filmed, the race was just an experience, endurance on your end, on our end, to film it for 36 hours. That was just an experience.
27.
No, you ran it in 27 hours. We filmed for
I
36.
just didn't want
Because
anybody.
we
I
filmed-
just didn't want anybody watching to get it confused.
No, he finished it in 27 hours, 42 minutes.
Okay.
We filmed it for 36 hours because we filmed before and after.
Yeah, you're right.
But you finishing the race and you seeing your family there, that was like, gives me goosebumps now. That was awesome. That was just a really cool experience. Just to know what they've, just like, for them being so skeptical and saying like, he's done this before, whatever, but them showing, your mom and your sister physically showing up was just like, their actions said more than words to you. And I think that was a big moment for you as well, whether you see it or not, to literally keep, not in the race, but in life, to keep going. Yeah. Just them showing up at that moment and surprising you at the finish line. I think that was a big moment just in your whole journey.
Dude, that was hands down the
that
most
was
powerful moment in my
fucking
life.
awesome. That was awesome.
Like, and dude, you want to talk about I'm not lucky, like, for you to, like, I wouldn't have never thought of that in a million years, but for you to have that idea and for you guys to be the architects of this story, and like you did such a masterful job of like I noticed like the high points in the race when I'm doing good are like the high points of my life when I was doing good, and then the low points of the race when I'm, you know, the low points of my life too. And so how you were able to masterfully weave that in there and like go on this.
Well, the race
Go
was
on
a
this
metaphor.
roller coaster.
The race was
Yeah,
a metaphor
right.
for your life,
Right.
and so like if you really watch the film and really pay attention to it, you'll see that the way Gavin weaves it together. It's like you start the race and you're feeling good, blah blah blah, and that's with your sister talking about how you're a superhero and things like that. And then the race starts to get a little harder, and you start to drop off, and that's the first time you did the drugs or whatever. And then you go to Iraq, and like, oh shit, you know, now you're dropping off again. And so like that whole race was just literally a metaphor for your life, and we just kind of filled the gaps. I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome. And then obviously like, I mean, I don't know if you knew this, but like your sister showing up to the race, your mom said she wasn't coming. Your sister said she wasn't going to go. She came at the last minute.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty special too, because like when we went to Youngstown, Ohio, we filmed them in the polar vortex.
Yeah.
It was like negative.
Yeah, you got pneumonia when you came back.
Yeah, I got pneumonia when I came back. On my wife's first anniversary.
Right.
On our anniversary night, I was in the ER with pneumonia. And she was
That's a fucking director right
she
there.
was like, you get pneumonia on our anniversary because you went to go film in Youngstown outside in the polar vortex.
Fucking Shawn.
That's what made that footage so much more awesome too.
Yeah,
it
that was
blizzard. You know,
Right.
like it was so bleak.
And your mom was out
The
there.
baseball field at the
baseball
cemetery,
field.
all
It
that
was
stuff.
awesome.
You know, you could see their breath, and
Right.
it just added
The
another
visuals
layer.
were amazing.
Right.
But your sister's story, your mom's story, I love it. It's powerful, and your stepdad's as well. They each have their own powerful story. But I think everyone knows like how hard for mom it is, sure. So I don't want to take anything away from that. But I don't think you really hear from a sibling too much, and to see how it really affected your sister, because she was like 13, 14, 15 during those years and during her adolescence.
Right.
But she needed that big brother, and you were not there. It was
Right.
the addict. And so she lost that. And so hearing her story about you, that got me the most. It still does. Like, but that's probably one of my, that's gotta be one of my favorites.
And that's my sister Kelly, her part in this, you know, of the film is that's where it really drove it home and made me start really understanding the negative effects my actions had on the family and stuff like that. Because she was, you know, I've said before, she was I never beat her up. I never stole from her. Like I never like, in my mind, ever like harmed her in any way.
You just
And then-
left her at the mall to go get a fix.
I did do that.
Yeah.
I do that. I mean, there's a ton of shit now that my eyes are open. There's a ton of shit that I see, but it was like stuff like not being there to take prom pictures with her, not there when she got her license. You know what I mean? Not
But
when
that's
she
why.
graduated high school.
But that's why I said it was an addict version of you. You
Right,
know?
right,
I
right.
think that's what people need to understand, you know, and that's why we tried so hard in the video too, in a very subtle way, to present two Shawns. There's Shawn,
Yeah,
where your mom always goes. I always knew Shawn was.
in there somewhere.
He was in there somewhere. And then your dad says, well, that's when the monster got a hold of him.
Yep.
I think in Iraq. So, like, there's always these two Shawns.
Yep.
And so I think that's always important to understand within addiction and recovery and all this, that there's, I mean, that addiction monster, that's a real thing, you know, and even though you can't see it, it doesn't mean it's not real.
Right, for sure. I remember for me, originally I was supposed to come back up north with y'all to film when you're in Ohio, and then for whatever reason I didn't end up coming.
I'm glad you didn't.
I know. So that was the most nerve-wracking time for me because it was this, is my sister going to do it? Is my mom going to do it? Like,
She wasn't going to do it.
Right.
She decided the morning of.
Right.
Like, okay, fine, I'll interview.
right. And yeah, thinking about when we did that first video, that was one of the most therapeutic things I'd ever done because it got my story out there. And so
Right.
people started to know. And then that's what taught me that I had power with my story, you know what I mean? That I was able to use it to help people. And so I only ever wanted my family to get that same therapeutic effect that I got from that first video. But I remember when we had put the trailer together and we did that event at that place, and there was about 150 people there.
At Fleet Feet.
No, it wasn't. No, the other one. It was actually at a bar.
Oh.
With all the, it was all the run. Yeah, it was all the run clubs in Austin.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And I remember that was like this moment where all these people knew me as this runner, and you know, I was doing these ultra races, which most road runners weren't doing at the time. And so they knew me as that person. Not many people knew my story. And so all these people who just know me as this runner, this ultra runner, all of a sudden now within 3.5 minutes know 4-time felon, kicked out of the military, heroin addict, homeless, like all these things. I remember the light coming on and I felt naked. I can still remember standing up there with
I can't imagine that.
with the microphone, but then the amount of people that came up to me afterwards that started sharing their family stories and their own personal stories, it was like, oh shit, like,
Yeah,
there's a benefit with this.
I think you even said that night, you asked people to raise their hand if anyone in the room had a connection to addiction, and like almost everyone.
Right. And that's the more I've done this, that everybody's recovering from something. You might not be recovering from addiction, but you have a brother or sister that is. You know what I mean? It's just so connected. So y'all come to Ohio, you get all that footage, and then you come back to Austin.
Yeah, what did we do? So that
You went to the emergency room.
yeah.
Right.
That Ohio trip was something else because we saw firsthand like your roadmap, I guess.
Yeah.
Which was vital for the story. And then I think when we came back, we just needed some looking cool shots of you running and training. That's when we went down to Tulum.
Yeah, we went to Terlingua.
Yeah, on the border of the United States and Mexico, down there.
Yeah.
And you were all afraid because you didn't have a passport and you were like on parole and stuff. And you had to pass through the checkpoint.
A bit, yeah.
Like, it's okay, Sean.
That was the
And then you almost got bit by a snake.
baby rattlesnake.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should tell this story. If after I tell this story you don't want it in, we'll see if Jason will edit it out.
Sure.
But I was scared in Terlingua because Terlingua was the very last thing we shot.
That was the last thing we shot.
The very last thing. And so we're done in Terlingua, and you and the rest of the crew were in the truck, and everybody's being celebratory, so everyone is going to have a drink, right? Well, I'm already on probation. I'm not supposed to have left the county even, or the city or whatever. So now we're all the way down by Mexico. And then I start realizing we have to come back through a checkpoint. And I'm like, y'all been drinking, like there's an open container in here, like, and no, we're good, dude. They're just going to ask thing. I'm like, I am a 4-time felon. If they run my ID, we are fucked. You don't understand. They're gonna take everything out of this truck. We're gonna be here for hours. And I was like freaking out. He's like, dude, we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. I'm like, you haven't lived the life I lived, bro. Anytime police are involved, it's not a good thing for me at the time.
It's funny you say that. My brother-in-law is the same way.
I'm not now. I just had an officer on a couple weeks ago.
He is so paranoid about his shadow.
Well, because you know you're. Yeah.
That's what every
Head's on a swivel.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean.
And that's just something else, yeah. He's like, you said it too. You go, my brother's like, yeah, I got PTSD from prison. And you said in the film, you go, man, I had PTSD from Iraq, but I got a whole new kind of other PTSD from being in prison for 10 years.
Yeah, you even said like you feel like you had felon tattooed on your head,
right.
Right.
like everyone knew.
Yeah. It's a lot of that shit that you don't see. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't be able to tell, but like I feel is a problem, and so you might not be able to tell, but I still have this issue over here of being insecure. I've been to prison, or always on guard, or always thinking everybody I talk to, there's some angle where they're trying to fuck me over somehow, and it's just like
that paranoia.
Yeah, and then constantly, you're on guard at all times because at any moment somebody could come over here and try to check you and want to fight, and it's then people don't understand the. As soon as you go into prison, everything gets divided very quickly in the race. You know what I mean? And here I had grown up around, a multitude of different ethnicities and stuff like that. Plus I was in the military, so I didn't see color or anything like that. But then you go in there and it's like, oh, now you got to be with the white guys. You can't talk to these, but you can't do over here. And I never got down with that. And then it was just, but it's an eye opener.
So how do you How do you battle that now, or like how did you battle that? In your recovery, like
The prison mindset and stuff.
the side of PTSD from addiction.
The biggest, most beneficial thing was using my story to help other people.
Right.
That's how I dealt with it, because my mother and I actually, I'm over 6.5 years sober. The last time my family came down, like my mom had I don't want to say a meltdown or whatever, but they ended up driving from Ohio down to here. And so when she drove from Ohio down to here, she had to drive through Waco, Colleen, all the Temple, all these places where I was not doing well. And so she had started bringing up, Shawn, do you remember this? Do you remember when you did this? Do you remember when you were supposed to pick me up at the airport? You weren't there. You remember when I made you Thanksgiving turkey for you and your friend and you nodded out at the table and all that? And I was just like, I didn't remember any of it.
She did.
And she remembered it all. And she asked me a question. She's like, how are you just okay with all this stuff? And I told her, I was like, Mama, like there's nothing I can do to change the past. If I'm going to continue to live in the past, it's only going to repeat itself. You know what I mean? Now I find it's healing for me to be able to use all that to help people to not make the same mistake. And she couldn't understand that I didn't remember any of these big things that had happened. And I was like, Mom, like I was high. Like I don't remember that time frame in my life. And like that made a switch go off in her head. She's like, I never thought of that. Like you were high. Of course you don't remember a lot of this stuff.
And it's good to talk about.
No, it is.
Yeah,
and it's upsetting for her to relive that, but I feel pretty confident. When my head hits the pillow at night, I'm pretty confident that I've been able to put together a body of work and sobriety and life now. They know deeply now that I use my experience to help people every day. And so that's what makes it like all okay. Yeah.
You imagine how many people that are all just like you that don't have the opportunity to talk about it now.
Yeah.
Because they were afraid, or that's how society will look at them.
Yeah. And dude, it's funny you say that. There's not it's sad that I've become so desensitized to death in this industry. Right. You know what I mean? It's just, I would imagine it's similar for, soldiers or frontline law enforcement people, stuff like that, where it's just like, this is what happens. Like, it's not a surprise to me anymore. And that's sad. Like, I want to be sad. I want to grieve when I know somebody that's close, but, now it's more like, oh, got another one, like another one of us gone. And it just continues to stack on. And, thank God I got out of the game before fentanyl and all that hit, or I would be there too.
Yeah.
Have you seen that movie? Have you seen that new show on Netflix?
Painkillers?
Yeah.
So good.
I'm just now starting to watch it.
It's very, very good.
But yeah.
But very well. Peter Berg is a beast.
He's my favorite.
I knew that.
That's when I tried to style this film around his style. Peter Berg's my favorite.
Jonathan worked with him, right?
No, our composer, Carson Ani.
I thought Jonathan shot a sports thing with him.
No, that was for Cher.
Okay.
The Last Chance You people.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Peter Berg's awesome.
But I like
more stories like that. That's why I said, like, yes, they're the same stories, but I don't think they'll ever get old, or like you can never tell enough of them.
Right.
I guess this is my point.
No, right.
Because they're beautiful stories, they're real human stories, and I think you need to keep telling them to keep it on the forefront of society's mind.
Yeah.
To keep talking about it.
Right. Especially, great point you just made, especially in today's day and age where the news cycle is 24 hours. Like,
right.
Something happens tomorrow, everyone's already forgotten about it. So if number one, if you continue to have this stigma, nobody's going to talk about it. Number two, if we stop talking about it, then it's just,
Exactly. It's just going to repeat itself.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's one, finish watching Painkillers and you'll see why this is one of the most, it's the most prevalent. I don't want to fuck up statistics or anything like that, but opioid. Yeah, it just became number one, like over everything else. Cancer, you name it.
And people I feel like society just chalks it up to the individual. Or that person's just a thug, or that person's just bad apple, or whatever, or raised not educated, or whatever.
Right.
No, like fucking educated people
Yeah.
My brother-in-law was a biology major at UT. Smart fucking kid.
Yeah. I mean,
And it just takes a hold of you. It doesn't give a fuck if you said it too.
Right.
It doesn't care if you're white, black, yellow, brown. It doesn't care what you are or what class in society you are.
Right.
It just
doesn't.
grabs you.
at the beginning of every episode in Painkillers, they have like a real family that was affected by a family member that died from it. And you see in there, like, they were all like, a lot of them were young college kids, or they are just seem relatively normal people. They are bad apples.
So
Dude,
it's just like,
This is how much of a gangster Peter Berg is. So they were nervous about the lawyers from Purdue Pharma, or those people being able to come after them for doing this documentary, right?
fuck it.
So, or not documentary, shows.
Yeah.
So one of the things that they had to do was read the disclaimer at the beginning that this is obviously they weren't there for every, do you already know this?
No, well, I saw the first.
So they obviously weren't there for every conversation or anything that ever happened with this. So they have to state that it's dramatized for TV and names have been changed, this and that. But he's so gangster that he was like, I'm not letting them off the hook. Nobody's going to believe that this is not real. So what he did was have a different family read that at the beginning, and then they say, but what wasn't dramatized is the story, and then they tell their brief story. And I was like, that's a fucking gangster move right there.
That was a cold open too in the first episode, which was, and that fucking hooked me.
Right.
And like, it reminded me of like what we did with you.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, hopefully one day at that level, but it was, to your point. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They yeah, man, you watch that. I don't know. There's so many, unfortunately, in today's day and age with narratives and stuff like that. But you see how the media or whatever painted the picture, and the big thing in that show is that hammer the abusers. It's not our fault. It's the abuser's fault. These people abuse drugs and stuff like that. But you're like set up in a system where you can't win.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just like how recovery is, like, I think you said it, like, you're never fully recovered. You're not, like, if you're an addict, you're not recovered. You're always in recovery, right? And so, like, going back to, society on how to, combat this disease is like, that's why I just have to pound it in. You always have to keep telling these stories and keep these stories in the forefront, because you always need to be one step ahead of it.
Right. Yeah. Yes, I'm always an addict, but I have recovered from what we call a hopeless state of mind and body.
Right.
So my days are no longer filled up with like, oh, am I going to get high today? Am I going to drink today or anything like that? But I'm an addict in the sense I do know if I put this into my body, I will not be able to stop. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I can manage the decision every day of if I'm going to do that. But I do know it's not like, I go away for 7 years and come back out, and now I can have a couple beers and think I won't be snorting rails off the back of the toilet before the end of the night. Like, that's just how I operate.
Yeah, right. But did you, at the beginning, when you first started getting into running, and you were, running 100 miles that's insane. So, like, did you kind of take that addict mentality and just put it into running, put it into that next thing, something positive?
Not coherently. Like, that's not what I was trying to do.
Okay.
I only ever started running because I wanted to lose a little bit of weight. I had a big gut and just was super unhealthy and felt like shit, looked like shit. And so that was my only intention. It just so happened that it would like you could say it scratched that itch.
Right.
And so, but the big thing was that I had finally found something that lit a fire up under my ass that made me excited about being sober, excited to be alive. I had this new exciting group of people that I had gotten in contact with the running stuff. Now I'm running races, and it's like for the first time as long as I can remember, it's like, oh shit, I got some shit going right now. Like, I'm actually have something excited about the day. Because before it was just like dreary fucking rain clouds and depression every day.
But you found something positive to kind of replace that.
Yeah. Harness and redirect. You remember when we said that?
Yeah.
Harness and redirect. I remember we kept saying that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not knowing that's what I was doing, but that is what I did. Because I tell people every day, it's like the amount of energy we put into getting high, getting drunk, the hustle, getting money every day like that. I still have all that pent up energy when I get sober. right? And to try to act like you don't that's not a thing. You still got all that energy, so what are you going to do with it? Hopefully you choose to put it into something that's healthy for you, and you know what I mean, gets mental health benefits, puts you around good people and all that stuff.
Right.
Not always the case.
Sports,
Dude, sports is huge.
number one, I think.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So what, when just kind of taking people through the timeline, we wrapped up. We were done filming all of our stuff, and then I remember you and I. It was always frustrating for me. Not frustrating, but we'll say frustrating.
No, we'll say frustrating.
We'd film for like a couple weeks, and then there would be months, and like I wouldn't even talk to Andrew.
Yeah,
And I texted. I know.
Working on the edit.
Right. I didn't know that, and so there'd be so many times I'm like, we've done all this. This shit's never gonna fucking happen. I'm stupid to think there was ever gonna be a movie about me or anything like that. And then you'd call me like, hey man, we're gonna film this. I'm like, all right, here we go. And it was just this roller coaster. But then we get done with it, and you start talking, hey, we're gonna be traveling around to the film festivals. We're gonna go shop it. We're gonna do this, and then bam, fucking COVID hits. And I was just like, what the fuck?
I know.
But it's still...
COVID really fucked us.
It still got into...
It got into Flicker Fest in Rhode Island, which was really awesome. And it got into some other really cool festivals.
Yeah, we were in what, 6-ish?
But I think like 15 we got into.
Oh, we did?
Yeah. But it was COVID, so like they were all like online and streaming and things like that, so we couldn't really go to any,
right?
Which sucked. But yeah, no, it was okay. It was decent.
Dude, I'll tell you one thing that I was hurt by and all that was, you had told me all these film festivals and there was some big name film festivals we were going to, and then like we basically, and if you don't want this out there, we can edit this part out. But we basically get the answer from these film festivals that we weren't what they were going for that year, and basically because we were straight white men,
sometimes
that we weren't getting picked and stuff like that, and that was disheartening to me, because it's like, we just got done saying the number one cause of death in the country is opiates. Like, if you're gonna tell me that
film festivals are funny, they're kind of tricky. They really look at the director and things like that, and I don't know.
They kind of make it more about the festival than the films.
It's good. Like, festivals are very
political.
Yeah, and we didn't have anyone quote unquote like famous in our documentary and things like that. And but I think like everyone we showed the documentaries to, they've all had a very powerful response to it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's on Amazon Prime now, so
yeah,
you go watch there. But it's just a very intimate, human-driven story.
Yeah.
And it's so real.
Right.
And I think that's why it's so powerful, and like we didn't, for it not being from like someone famous, when we film no one knows you and things like that, which I think is great, because they could look at you and families could look at you and be like, that's exactly how my family is.
Yeah.
You and your family were very relatable to all these other families going through something very similar.
Right.
And I think that's the number one reason we wanted to do it, so it could be relatable. But I think like, getting it out there on a big platform, it's just going to be a lot more difficult.
Right. You guys are used to that world. I wasn't used to that world. And so there was this rawness to it, because it's like now all my story is like out there on this thing. And so, I was sensitive about it. It's like, oh, this film festival doesn't want it, or, what's wrong with it? What's wrong with my story? It was just a very insecure time in my life.
It wasn't you, it was me.
No. Was there ever any part throughout the journey where you were just ready to be like, all right, fuck this. Like, it's not worth it. We're not doing it.
No, never.
Never?
I couldn't. I had...
We kept wanting to get more. Like, you remember, like, we were putting it together before you got Shawn's interview when he was wearing black.
Oh, yeah. That was the last thing we shot, was your interview.
And that...
Oh, you're right.
That's what really, like, started to pull everything together.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was crazy. I was like, whoa, this is really work. And then Carson's music.
That
That took it to a whole nother level, I thought.
I hear bits and pieces of the music that was in our documentary.
Yeah.
Are like sound effects from, I don't know the proper terminology, but the sound effects within that music, I hear in other stuff, and I'm like,
You probably hear Peter Burke stuff because it's his composer I use.
oh, really?
Yeah, so Carson is Peter Burke's composer,
Right.
and I knew exactly the music and the tone I was going for, and so I was just looking at stuff that Peter shot and then looking up his composers, and I found Carson, and I was like, oh my God, this is it, and I just blindly emailed him, and I was like, hey, I'm in Austin, and he's like, oh, I'm from Austin. It turns out he's friends with my wife and all her friends from like high school and college. And so he's like, I'm like, dude, I don't have like a lot of money for this. He's like, don't worry about it. I gotcha. I still paid him something, but like it was worth it. So I was able to get, that style that I wanted.
Right. It's crazy you bringing up the interview when I'm in the black shirt and stuff like that. I always thought
You were mad that day.
I was mad.
Yeah. You were like, you get irritated with me.
No.
I think some of the questions I was pushing you on, because we've already talked about it.
Oh, was I?
And you're like, we've already talked about this. But I was like, we need to do it again and then to get a different response or to get some options and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking before that. It was an emotional roller coaster for me.
Very emotional.
There were a couple times where I was in my feelings and mad at you, and you were mad at me. I think one time I remember you getting really fucking pissed at me. I think we were in my apartment at the time.
Probably. Because I won't call it mad, I call it passion.
Yeah, no, right.
You and I were both very passionate about it. And it's not like this thing was backed by some big financiers or anything like
Right.
This was, we paid for it. This was bootstrapped.
Yeah.
So like, just like taking all the financial aspects out of making this, we can never give up on it because of the story itself.
Yeah.
And the interviews we got from your mom and you and your sister and just the experiences we had. And then also what I was going through with seeing my wife's family with her brother. We couldn't. There was no way we could stop. No way.
Right. What this is gonna be one of my last serious questions, but taking a look back and looking at the whole project as a whole, what was the biggest lesson each of you learned through the story, through the process, the production, anything like that? Do you have a lesson that you learned?
Be better at raising money, so you don't have to pay for yourself and make it better. I don't know, because like that, I've done some pretty cool films, like $3 million films and things like this, and they're not even that freaking great, to be quite honest. But this was like my favorite project I've done. Not only. No, not the story. No, it is. The story, I think we did a great. Not only pat ourselves on the back. I think we did a great job with what we had. But the story itself's amazing. The journey was awesome, just because working with real people, it was so real and intimate the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, going up on these literally emotional roller coasters, and then having the weight of your family story on us. It was pretty heavy, but I think that's what made it so special at the end as well.
Yeah, it's the thing I'm most proud of too that I've worked on, because I made a lot of my living doing TV commercials for like Popeye's Chicken and AT&T, and so there was not a lot of feel good selling chicken, So to edit your story, to edit this movie, like I could always leave work with my head up, like I feel like I'm helping.
Right.
I'm helping you. I'm probably helping your family. Help the world.
Exactly,
That's getting a little bit.
No, dude.
But eventually.
No, you. You are more than you know.
I produced a movie with down in Tooele a few years ago with Kevin Dillon and like, some great actors, and that was like cool. I've had some really cool experiences in this industry, but like filming that doc, I still think it was like one of the things like I'm most proud of. Like if someone goes, "What are you most proud of?" That and Unconditional, or your other short one with him. I just really like that. Yeah, those are two that I don't think it would be hard to top it.
Well, and even just what you guys accomplished filming the race, because I mean it's a 100-mile race, and you still there were 3 cameras, right, or just 2 in the GoPro, or 3 in the GoPro?
There was Shawn had a GoPro, our DP had his camera, and then we had another AC that had a camera, and then a drone.
Yeah. So and because they could really only capture you at those checkpoints, right? I mean, they could get a little here and there, but I think just capturing that race was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The way you did, and that we could make it entertaining, like not just a snore.
Right.
You know?
Well, I mean, I'm saying this completely like impartial, like it's my story and everything like that, but y'all fucking crushed it. Like I could not be more proud of what you guys did with my story. And I mean, just the emotion that I knew went along with it, but the way that you guys can pull that emotion back out of me is one of the most powerful.
If I could make
one of the most powerful things.
If I could make a living telling these stories, that would be amazing.
Let's go.
But we need commercials.
I know. No, I get it. No, I get it completely. Man,
that's what I mean. Like, it was so like heartfelt, and my wife saw it. You know, every time I would come home or at night, like I wore my feelings on my sleeve, and she could see how much I was putting into it. You know, and like how much it meant to me, and I think that's like what we live for as well. You know, as filmmakers, like finding those special stories that it's not just like a drag. Like that's why I got into this industry,
right,
to tell stories like that.
Right.
You know, so, and that's why I said, like, you know, it's really hard to make money on documentaries, but like, if you can find a way to do that and keep telling those stories, I mean, look, Peter Berg does it, but that's freaking Peter Berg.
Yeah,
yeah, but
1% of 1% of directors are able to actually make money off that.
But it's powerful. It's amazing.
There was a line your mom said, it's in the movie. I might not be quoting exactly, but she's like, I didn't know if I was being almost like an accomplice to Shawn.
Yeah.
When he was in his addiction, or was I giving him enough help so he could survive long enough to figure it out on his own?
Yeah.
And that stuck with me, still has stuck with me to this day. Like, that was so powerful, because as a parent, I'd imagine you don't know that, because I saw my brother go through some kind of somewhat parallel, and my parents, they help him, but it almost felt like he's just using you.
Yeah.
But maybe they were, because he's fine now.
Right.
Maybe they were just keeping him alive long enough to where he could figure it out himself.
Right.
So.
It's enabling. Like how much do I enable them versus how much do I help them? And that's a very fine line. Right? Enabling versus helping.
Yeah.
And I think every parent has a huge, you know, that's a very sticky area on what to do. But your mom said it best.
Yeah, that right there is the toughest question I get when people have seen a film or I'm speaking somewhere is, you know, how do I as a mother, a father, brother, sister, whoever, how do I deal with this person? What do I do?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to tell them, like, completely cut him off. Don't give him the means to do anything, because he's just going to use it for bad. And then what if he goes out and dies the next day?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then again, it's like, you know, I don't want to tell people to help them, and then they just continue to get used and abused for years and years. And so I just share my experience where I was like, you know, I needed to be in a prison cell, and I needed my mom to stop picking up the phone, and I needed to understand that there's nobody that's going to give me my means to get high anymore. It's on me from here on out.
Yeah, but as a parent, how do you?
No, right.
I don't know if I.
No,
I don't know if I could do that.
Right. No, we've talked about it. I don't know what it's like to be the parent, and I know especially for a mother, it goes against every fucking fiber in your soul to not be there for your kid, you know.
But she had to do that.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I'm happy she did, or else I probably wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah, right.
So we've talked about some heavy stuff. I got some more lighthearted questions. These are just fun questions for y'all. I feel like people's, you know, somebody could know your story, but they don't really know who you are as a person, right? So these are just some quick fun questions for y'all to help them get to know y'all better. So what would you say is the project you're most proud of aside from 100 Miles to Redemption?
For
each of you.
The one I just shot, it's a proof of concept pilot that we shot. It's another true story, but it's a narrative.
Okay.
We developed it into. It's based on a serial killer that nobody knows about.
I'm in.
He killed over 100 women, and he was going to be released from prison. But the way the writer of the script is the brother of one of the victims, and he wrote the script from his mom's perspective. His mom back in the 1980s was responsible for keeping this guy in prison when he was going to be released on mandatory release. He confessed to 13 murders in Houston, and he was going to be released. And so she fought for 2 decades to keep him in prison. So our story follows her journey fighting 2 decades to keep this guy in prison. It's called Empty Chair. So like we're currently we just went to Series Fest with it. We won Best Screenplay and honorable mention, Best Pilot. And so we're currently trying to sell it. It's a little hard right now with the strike. But once the strike's over, we're going to be trying to sell the series. It's a limited series, 8-part. So we'll be trying to sell that. But I'm very proud of that. Same reasons I am with your story because, again, I had the opportunity to work with this family directly. Like I said, the screenwriter was the brother. So it's very personal. I had them on set. So like it was telling true stories in an unscripted format or a scripted format doesn't really matter to me. Like I like both. I just love true stories and try to tell them in the most authentic way possible. I think it's really beautiful. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about that one. So we'll see what happens.
You said you were going to send me a copy. But
I'm sending you a copy. I'll send you the link.
I'm all in on the true crime shit.
Yeah, it's the craziest story you'll ever hear.
Good. I can't wait.
Nuts.
We got to remind him. Send it to me today. What about you?
That's definitely a good one.
Is that?
Yeah, in my most recent memory, that's the one. But if maybe a more fun one, I got to work on a PGA Tour commercial that had Wayne Gretzky in it.
Oh, really?
And I'm a huge hockey fan, so to work with Wayne Gretzky, which was pretty cool.
That's cool.
But he was talking to another Canadian golfer, Mike Weir, about how he needs, you need an enforcer. He's like, I always had an enforcer on the ice. Follow me wherever you need one too. And then you cut to the golfer teeing off, and someone gets near him, and the his enforcer comes out and deals with.
I think I remember this commercial.
Yeah.
I think I remember that.
But it was kind of cool. So working with Wayne Gretzky,
that's
cool.
That's definitely a bucket list thing right there.
Yeah.
All right, so I just want to give me the first thing that comes to what's it called? What's the rap day? What's the last day called when you officially rap? There's like a term you use.
Rap.
Rap?
Rap.
All right, so I'm going to throw out some terms to y'all. I just want you to give me the first thing that comes to mind for each of you.
Okay.
All right? Rap.
Rap?
Yeah.
We're done. We're done filming.
Yeah, it's over.
Over? That's the first thing that comes to mind?
Yeah.
Rap party.
Rap party? All right, that's what
Rap party.
All right.
It's rap parties.
Hollywood. First thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, phony.
Phony?
Let's go.
That's why I'm filmmaker in Austin.
Okay.
I can't do Hollywood. They don't want me. No, I can't do Hollywood.
Good. Family.
Number one.
Yeah, that's all there is.
Yeah, God.
All there is?
Family, God. Yeah.
All right. I don't want you to keep getting the first answer because you're taking it, so I'm going to go over to him.
Okay, my bad.
Stop.
Favorite movie?
A favorite movie is Blade Runner.
Well, not 100 Miles to Redemption?
The OG Blade Runner or the new one?
The OG, yeah.
OG one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, jeez, that's so hard. It's got to be like either a Peter Berg movie or a David Fincher movie. Either one of those.
Okay. First one, top of your head.
Oh, also Empire Strikes Back.
There you go.
Star Wars up there.
I don't know. I'm gonna go. I don't fucking know. It's too.
What was your
hard.
favorite movie growing up?
Oh, growing up.
Just
Okay.
Anything. Favorite movie?
Oh,
Benji.
I'll say Dumb and Dumber.
Okay, good one. Very good one.
Oh, Happy Gilmore.
Very good one.
Really nice.
All right. First thing that comes to mind, sports.
Hockey.
Basketball.
Basketball, let's go. United States of America.
Patriotism.
Okay.
That's a good one. Patriotism.
Is it?
Sure.
Okay.
It's authentic.
Brave.
Brave. Love it. Favorite director?
Peter Berg.
Peter Berg. Do you have a favorite editor? Or favorite director?
Favorite director is Tim Burton.
Ooh, very good one.
And then my favorite editor is Thelma Schoonmaker. She does all of Scorsese films.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, we just watched my wife and I just watched The Departed. It's literally,
You
it's
gotta
the
say
it's the
The
perfect film.
Departed.
It's the perfect film.
Yeah, it was awesome. Can I change my film
Top to
answer
bottom.
for that?
Top to bottom, it's the
Jeez.
perfect film. He and I always talk about.
You know what?
Talk
What
about that.
film I like? I really like actually Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah,
I
there you go.
love that.
Okay. Guy Ritchie's my favorite director.
Yeah, he's good.
I mean, you're my favorite.
100 Miles to Shawshank.
He's my
Yeah, Guy Ritchie's awesome.
he's my favorite famous director.
Sure.
No, I'm kidding. All right. Hopefully I get this terminology right. Blue hour or sunset?
Blue Hour.
Sunset.
Sunset? Okay.
Magic. Sunset's Magic Hour, but that's fine.
Magic hour, is that what it is?
Blue Hour's my favorite. Fucking love Blue Hour.
Oh,
Blue Hour. Blue
magic hour is sunset.
Yeah.
And blue hour is sunrise.
Yeah.
Right before sunrise.
Right before.
All right. I remember learning
They're
that.
both kind of magic. They're both magic hours. Sure.
I think I like the
Blue Hour.
I think I like the sun coming up one. Me personally.
Yeah.
That's what I like the best.
I don't like sunrise. Blue Hour. Just right before.
Blue hour, yeah. All right. And last but not least, favorite show of all time.
I mean, probably Breaking Bad. That seems but
Classic.
I love that show.
Classic.
And even Better Call Saul after it.
Yeah,
Yeah?
that too. Yeah, I'd have to go with those too.
Really?
It was really good. Mindhunter's really good.
Who?
Mindhunter.
Very good, yeah.
Damn, famous show. Shit.
Mine's Sopranos.
That's a great show. Growing up, it was Magnum PI.
Simpsons.
Ooh, Magnum PI.
Simpsons.
The Simpsons? Fucking dude, they're
Oh,
goddamn psychics.
yeah, I know.
Everything.
It's fucking nuts.
Everything.
Fucking Simpsons up in the morning. You know,
Do they already know? Like, is it?
Yeah.
they are the aliens.
Could be. Could be. Gentlemen,
Well, I want to make 100 Miles to Redemption into a narrative,
like a regular movie?
a regular movie,
Not like
a narrative.
like with actors?
show. Yeah, with
Let's
actors.
fucking go.
I know.
I'm here for it.
We have so many stories from him and your family, and to be able to portray those, that would be awesome
With a budget?
Who would you
with a budget.
so
Who would play you?
that's what I was just gonna ask you. So let's say money is not
Justin Timberlake.
take it.
Shit, yeah,
Really?
yeah. I was just thinking real quick about some other ones, but
I mean, he'd have to shave his head and stuff.
no. He's legit. Yeah, no, he would kill it. He would do very well.
Yeah.
You know it's fun
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it's funny in high school
Timberlake would. Yeah,
in like 8th grade, maybe 8th grade freshman year, I dyed all my hair blonde. And then when it grew out, like the sides were shaved, so it was basically like I had frosted tips. And there was one girl that had a Justin Timberlake keychain, and so she started calling me Justin Timberlake, and then all the girls started calling me Justin
Really?
Timberlake, and then dudes would try to fuck with me about it. I'm like, bro, it's Justin Timberlake, like
JT.
he'd steal all your girls, so I don't give a fuck what y'all say.
yeah. That would be a good fit.
Don't kill him,
Remember him in Alpha Dogs?
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a beast. He's got a new movie coming out.
He's a good actor.
great.
He can
Very
dance
good.
all right.
Sing a little bit.
A little bit.
He sings.
Man,
We'll see. I got a writer. We'll see if he'll put it together.
I'm here for it. Let's go.
Cameo gonna be in? You got a cameo in the
I got to, right? I don't know.
You'll be the coach. Who's the coach? You're
Joe?
Joe.
I'll be Joe. That's my,
Oh yeah.
He can be coach.
dude. I think that's my favorite because it always gets a laugh whenever anybody's watching the film and they see Joe come on and he goes, "I'm not here to kiss his ass," like,
Yeah,
and all that, and
I'm
everybody
gonna- yeah.
busts out laughing.
Joe. I fucking forgot about Joe. Joe's awesome, dude.
Dude, he's a legend.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Either that or the legend and trail racing dude at the beginning. Who's
Ooh, there we go.
what's his name?
Carl Metzler.
Oh,
Yeah,
Speak up. Yeah.
speak. Yeah.
I want to go back to narrative film. You had some really interesting stories from your time in Iraq.
Mhm.
That's like how it kind of started as well.
Yeah.
And then like going from Youngstown to Iraq back to Youngstown, and showing that how the addiction started. I
Yeah.
guess that to me that's fascinating.
Absolutely.
It's almost a series.
Yeah, that's work.
It could.
Um,
We could write it into that. That's what we're doing with Empty Chairs on his family. But yeah,
Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good.
that would be awesome.
So one of the things we do to close out the podcast, usually to help people better understand who you are, podcast is called I Am Redemption, right? So if you guys would be willing, take a look into the camera. We'll go with Gavin first. If you would just look into the camera and throw out some I am statements to who is Gavin.
I am Gavin. I am Storyteller. And I am going blank.
Perfect. Perfect.
I am Andrew. I am a Christian. I am a father. I am a husband, a son, and a filmmaker.
Let's fucking go. Fellas, I fucking love you. I am eternally grateful for what you've done for me in my life. I would never, anybody else in the world, I would not have two better people